Hi and welcome to Reliance Australia. I'm Brett and welcome to another episode. So this episode is one I've been thinking about doing for a while. I have to say it did take me quite a bit longer to put together than I thought it would. I thought I had plenty of photos, but the problem was I did actually have plenty of photos to put into it, and that took much longer in the editing process than I thought it would do. But one of the things with living on the land is being able to work with nature. And so what I put together today is just a whole range of short videos and photos of just some of the animals that we have come through and passed through our property. So a couple of them are pets, but most of them are wild animals that come in, they land on our back deck, we feed them, or they pass through, eat the grass and our fruit trees. But it's just nice to know that we have some of the most iconic Australian animals live right here. And most people have to go to zoos to see them when we just have to look out our back window and enjoy them. So I'll start our friendly animals off with the birds section. This is a king parrot, and we get a lot of different parrots. So this is the male of the king parrots. Very spectacular and a reasonably sized bird. The females actually have a green head with a red chest, and all the rest of the markings are very similar. But we also get yellow-tailed black cockatoos, gangs, corellas, white cockatoos, galahs, as well as the king parrots and the rosellas that also come in. But these can be quite friendly, and quite often they'll eat right out of our hand. And this is the white cockatoo, so quite a large bird. You quite often see these ones in the movies, and they're quite popular overseas. But unfortunately they do get traded on the black market illegally as well, which is a real shame. Now the kookaburras are another iconic Australian bird, and they get quite friendly, but they eat meat, so we're not feeding them seed. I actually save them some meat most days, like you can see here. This one just about took my finger off one day because it got a bit hungry. And this is another iconic Australian bird that we have hanging around, and that's the magpie. And that's a king parrot just eating out of your hand, so quite often that'll do that. And here's a corella, mentioned before, so another white cockatoo. So it doesn't have the yellow or the sulphur crest on it, but still a beautiful bird. This is the white-faced heron, very elegant bird. This one's been coming onto our property now for about the last 4 to 6 weeks, I suppose, just tapping on our back window to let us know that she's there. And she'll just elegantly walk along the back of the balustrade. And this is a flame-chested robin, which is coming a little bit rarer down our way, but still a beautiful little bird. She was released back into the wild. So here's a range of the birds all eating off our back deck at the same time, and quite often we have a feeding session a couple of times a day. So this is our echidna. We do have an echidna that comes through our property. So this one actually was close by our property, so not exactly on our property. And I put this in just because of the beautiful nature of the footage. It's not often you get this close to an echidna, especially when it's feeding. They can be quite shy and sometimes hard to track and get good footage of. But this is probably some of the best footage I've ever had of an echidna. But they are just a beautiful little animal. Look, they'll leave little holes as they dig around looking for their ants. But yeah, quite spectacular little things they are, and real privilege to have on the property. Now next one you'll understand as an iconic Australian animal, and that is the kangaroo. We've got a couple of big kangaroos that like to eat and break my fruit trees, but we're working with that, and we try to work with the animals as opposed to just getting rid of the animals. But they are quite beautiful as well, and look, they don't really hurt anybody. But the next one is little wallaby, also very similar looking animal, but this one's got caught red-handed actually eating the buds off my pear tree. They moved on. Now this one, as you'll see, is a little fox. We've had little fox cubs from time to time. We've had a pair of them at sometimes. We're sort of down to one, which I haven't seen for a while. But they just get very bold. I guess they get to know who's going to shoot at them and who's not going to shoot at them. But this little one was just hanging around right in front of the house. Like, we're probably only 20 meters from the house with that one. That's just taken on my phone. And this one, the same one, I was out mowing on big rhino mower and it just stopped literally 2-3 feet away from me. So moving from the furry animals, we're now moving on to the crustaceans. Now this is a pretty big yabby. Now I originally thought these were coming out of my dam up the top, but apparently they actually live in the ground. They dig their way up and come out when it's really wet. This fella was big enough to be a meal, but we're plant-based in this household, so we don't eat our friends. So this little fella we had to go put back down in the bush. But yeah, just stayed away from those big chompers because they would do you some damage. Now not everything is friendly down here, and this scorpion is no exception. This one was trying to have a go. And I've seen a few of these around now, either up in the wood pile, actually in the shed. I've actually pulled a panel off the house at one stage and found one sitting under there as well, so I do keep an eye out for them. Now this one might look not so friendly, but this is a blue-tongued lizard, so pretty friendly. Just got to give them the space, and they're not about to attack anyone. But a beautiful, beautiful lizard. Now this is a little frog, and I quite often see these little frogs when I'm mowing the grass, and they'll just be jumping around the grass, so I do try to avoid them so they can get down to the water and stay safe. Now this little furry fella is a local native bush rat. Friendly enough, but I have to say didn't like getting picked up. But they do like to get into the house and cause some damage with wiring. And this is Bibbles the sheep. You quite often see Bibbles starring on the videos that I post, and she is super friendly. So moving back to the flying things, this is a big moth that we had fly in with beautiful markings on it. Now these butterflies are just spectacular. I originally saw the larvae, or whatever you want to call the thing that butterflies come out of, and I saw them in the tree for a while, and I just noticed and kept an eye on it over a couple of weeks, and I was wondering what would come out, and that's the butterflies that came out. It's just spectacular. Now the next animal is very iconic, Australian, can't mistake them, and that is the koala. Beautiful animals. They keep to themselves most of the time. Look, they can be quite ferocious in the way that they eat. Look, we've got 5 or 6 koalas that sort of move through and around our property at any one time. So we'll see these on a sometimes daily basis, but definitely there won't be more than a couple of days that you don't go by without seeing one. But we've had a tree die from just being eaten to death. So they can eat quite a lot, but quite often they're friendly enough that you can go up and be close to them. You don't want to be trying to pat them though, because those claws are extremely sharp. Look, I've had those claws go through thick leather gloves and draw blood from one that we got sick and we're trying to nurse it back to health. But if you leave them alone, they're fine. The next one is our pet cat who lives inside with us. We don't leave it outside because we do have wedge-tailed eagles that fly around here as well, which I didn't mention, and they will pick up an animal that size and go away. Then we also have Batman that lives with us. Sorry, that's not Batman, that's our dingoes. So you will have seen photos of our dingoes before. Very big part of our life. And you want to see something funny, put them on a lead like that and see which one wins. One wants to go down to the water and go for a swim, the other one wants to go up and run in the dunes. But quite funny, and the stronger one won on the day. But just beautiful animals. They just have this ability to look straight into your eyes and through your soul. And I've learnt a lot about nature and a lot about myself through the dingoes. Most definitely a big part of who I am, and also part of our life here on the property. There you go. That's some of the animals that come through. Now we do get other animals that come through, so we do actually have a range of snakes that come through as well. As in, I guess you'd probably hear about that in Australia. We have browns, tiger snakes, copperheads, black snakes, and they'll all kill you though. So I don't tend to hang around and take photos of those. I just get out of the way and leave them to go through and be on their own. But we also have things like ducks and little ducklings up in the dam that come through, and especially around springtime. But we also have hawks that come through and like to attack those little ducklings as well. But it's just nice to be able to see on the property and see these beautiful animals come through and be part of our life. And we don't have to worry about keeping them controlled in cages. We just get to see them in their native and natural environment, which is really, really nice. So if you've enjoyed that, please give us a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more along those lines, please leave some comments down below. I do read and answer all of the comments that you send through, so I do appreciate that as well. If you haven't subscribed already, it'd be greatly appreciated. And until next time, I'll see you then.